We had a meeting this morning with a number of students from around the country who came in to share with us their concerns about the growing burden of student loan debt in this country, which I would argue has now reached a point of crisis. Time and again, we tell young people that the path to the American dream runs through a college campus. Young people get this, and they've responded. They overwhelmingly want to go to college, and they work hard to get there. But the cost can be more than many students bargain for, especially once they leave school, with a degree or without, and get hit with student loan payments. Young people are graduating with more debt than ever before. For the past several years, as springtime rolls around and graduates get ready to cross the stage, we hear reports that average debt loads have increased yet again. Each new class seems to set a new record. The average graduating senior in the class of 2014 held $28,950 in student loan debt. Indeed, over the past decade, student loan debt has quadrupled. Total outstanding student loan debt held by 40 million Americans is now over $1.3 trillion. That makes student loans the second highest type of consumer debt after home mortgages. Student loans are more than both credit card debt and car loans. Rhode Islanders alone owe upwards of $3.6 billion. Students who graduate from four-year colleges and universities in Rhode Island emerge with an average of $31,840 in student loan debt. I asked my colleagues, most of whom graduated many decades ago, could you imagine starting out in your life that deep in the red? This is the reality for so many Americans today. It is the reality for so many Rhode Islanders I have met with. Tammy is a child care provider from Warwick, Rhode Island. She spoke at a roundtable discussion Senator Reid and I held in Rhode Island to hear firsthand from our constituents about the challenges that they face with student loan debt. Tammy has a master's degree in child development and early childhood education. The original principal balance on her student loan was $43,530.56. But even with a master's degree in child development and early childhood education, the pay has not been great. We went through that Wall Street-caused financial crisis, and now 16 years later, her balance has grown to $88,000. Instead of making headway on her debt, she slips further into the red. Danielle from Narragansett, Rhode Island, racked up roughly $60,000 in student loan debt between her undergraduate and master's degrees from the University of Rhode Island. Now, she says, the burden of that debt is affecting the decisions her son, Talon, is making about his own college education. When a parent works and studies to make a better life for her child, the last thing that she expects is for her education, for the cost of her education, to limit her son's opportunities. Ryan, also from Warwick, is a special education teacher. He was my guest at the State of the Union. He's going back to graduate school to become an even better educator. I've made a conscious choice, he says, to invest in my education and my ability to make a difference in the lives of my students as a teacher. But his loans are a heavy burden on his finances. He works a second job on top of his teaching job to help cover his expenses and pay down his loans. His debt is affecting his life decisions about things like marriage or buying a home. Why should becoming a better teacher mean postponing the dreams of adulthood? Young people should enter the workforce ready to get their lives started, to earn, to create, to invest. College should be a path to opportunity, not a decades-long sentence of debt and instability, not deferred dreams of starting a family or buying a house. The average age of the Senate today is just over 60, meaning most senators were in college about 40 years ago. So we have no idea. Between then and now, the cost of college has increased more than 1,000%. According to Bloomberg Business from 1978, when the records began through 2012, the costs have increased by 12-fold, 1,120%. Going to college in the 70s generally didn't leave students with unsurmountable debt. Today, it's a fact of life. We must work not just to stop, but to reverse these trends. It is because of this crisis in college affordability that my Democratic colleagues got together to create the Reducing Education Debt Act, the RED Act. This important bill would do three vital things. First, it would allow borrowers to refinance their outstanding student debt to take advantage of lower interest rates. That would put billions of dollars back into the pockets of people who invested in their education. Refinancing would help an estimated 24 million borrowers save an average of almost $1,900. Second, the RED Act would make 2 years of community college tuition free, helping students earn an associate's degree, the first half of a bachelor's degree, or get the skills they need to succeed in the workforce, all without having to take on so much debt. Free tuition at community college would save a full-time student an average of $3,800 per year and could help an estimated 9 million college students. Third, the RED Act would help ensure that Pell Grants, named for our great Rhode Island Senator Claiborne Pell, keep up with the rising costs by indexing part of the Pell Grant to inflation permanently. By indexing the Pell Grant, compared to current law, the maximum Pell Grant award will increase by $1,300 for the 2026-2027 school year. That will result in larger awards for over 9 million students, helping reduce their debt. The RED Act, we think, is a critical step toward an essential goal: debt-free college. The American middle class was built in part on the opportunity provided by higher education. It was once common, believe it or not, to be able to go to college and graduate with no debt. We owe it to today's college students to be able to leave college and begin to build their lives free of debt and ready to achieve their dreams. We look forward to bipartisan participation on this issue in the Senate, although regrettably it has virtually never appeared in the Republican presidential debates as an issue. 40 million students with $1.3 trillion in debt, not interesting, not compared to Benghazi. So I'm hoping that we will do better than those candidates in this chamber and be able to pull a bipartisan solution together that will relieve that burden of debt on our next generation.